Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. You can probably tell from my voice I'm not feeling particularly well as I make this, but I am still nonetheless going to try my best to get through this review of the newest Cold War premium, the Leopard 2AV. Now, for those of you that are short on time, here's my quick review. It's a heavy, it has relatively good armour, and its mobility is excellent. But its downside is the gun. It doesn't hit as hard or pen as well as the 1A1 or the VT. This leaves me struggling somewhat to recommend it. In my opinion, the mobility advantage of the AV doesn't make it better than the 1A1 or the VT. In fact, this tank reminds me of the lyric from Johnny Cash's Devil's Right Hand: "It will get you into trouble, but it can't get you out." So with that said, what I'm going to recommend is purchase this at your own risk. Alright, now that I've said that, let's have a look at the details of the AV, and I will try to explain why. Based on the stats, I'll explain why I think this is a purchase at your own risk premium tank. From a premium tank point of view, we've seen 3 new Leopards arrive in the last 3 to 4 weeks. We've had the Leopard 1A1, the Leopard VT2, and now we have the Leopard 2AV. The AV differs from the others in that it's a heavy, and that's what kind of throws the trend off a little bit, because its mobility is actually better than the previous 2 Leopards. And yeah, granted, it is a Leopard 2 and the previous premiums are Leopard 1s, but still, it's unusual for heavies to have better mobility than mediums in roughly the same tiering. That's unusual for this game. The AV, its top speed, 72 kilometers an hour, which is a huge step up from the 65 in the 1A1 and the VT. Its power to weight ratio reflects this, coming in at 26.35. And the only other premium heavy that beats this ratio is the Mobat. The AV is very, very nimble. I will give it that. It's quick, and as soon as you get into a game and you play it, it just takes off like a rocket. It's got 3,100 hit points, which is the most of all the Era 2 premium heavies. The next one up behind it is the T72M1. I'm saying this from memory. T72M1, which has 3,000 hit points. This one's got 3,100, so it's not a huge step up, but there is, you know, there's more there should you need it. View range, 490 meters, which again is the best of the Era 2 heavies. And the concealment of 441 meters is pretty good. It's average for the heavies in this area. So, you know, so far, stats wise, it's coming in almost top place. But this next part is where I feel the good things come to an end. The gun. 370 average penetration and 460 damage on the standard rounds. 430 average penetration and again 460 damage on the gold rounds. This isn't great. Not when not when you're having to deal with the FV4211. And on top of that, keep in mind that the top tier Era 2 Tech Tree Leopard has 505mm of pen on the gold rounds. So the top tier Era 2 Tech Tree Leopard has the same penetration value on its gold rounds as the Leopard 1 premium tanks. And I think that's really important, because it's kind of a knockdown for this premium. Why would you get a premium that has worse gun handling than a tank that you can essentially earn for free? That's immediately one of the areas where this tank isn't quite holding up, in my opinion. An important stat, though, not to be, and again, this sort of follows on from what I've just said. An important stat to keep an eye on is the DPM. The AV has a DPM value of 4,232. The VT has a value of 3,468, and the 1A1 has 3,984. based on these figures, you could be forgiven for thinking that the AV is the clear winner. The reason I disagree with this though is because you can have all the potential damage stats you want. They're no good if you go out into a game and you can't pen anything. I'm making it sound awful. The gun isn't terrible. You'll still tear through most of the Era 2 tanks, but as we all know, it only takes 2 or 3 FVs to hold a position, and that's enough for their team to win the game. And like as a sort of a current a theme with my Leopard reviews at the moment is my recommendation, a large part of it is based on the tank's ability to kill the FV, because right now the FV is the dominant tank, or it has been for a long time. And when it comes to the AV, the 1A1 and the VT, the AV just doesn't hold up, in my opinion. Its armour is good. It's pretty good all round, especially on the turret. It's very good. You can play it hull down. The mobility is excellent. 9 degrees of gun depression is very, very good. So don't get me wrong, this is not a Conqueror Mark II. You know, this is not a terrible tank. The Conqueror Mark II is a terrible tank, so that's why I mentioned that. But given the other premium Leopards that are around the AV, I think you would be better off going with the VT or the 1A1. Especially, and this is obviously the thing that will affect everybody, especially when you consider the base bundle for the AV is 10,360 gold. And I'm now stretching my memory a little bit. I believe the Leopard 1 VT was 6,300 and something. So that's a big jump between these two premiums that are in the same era, and one of them has a much better gun and it costs a lot less. You do though get a very nice fancy 3D skin with the AV, and that might make the increase in value, or cost rather, that might make it worth it to some of you. I don't know. If you like a 3D skin, go for it. If you buy the AV, you are still getting a good tank though. All I would say is pick what will play best for you. We now have a good variety of premium Leopards that will suit all play styles. So my advice is choose sensibly. Right, last thing I want to cover to end this off on a high is the silver boost. The AV comes with a 65% silver boost, so if nothing else, you'll be making a fat load of cash in each game. And, you know, who doesn't want that? I mean, at the end of the day, 65% silver boost in Cold War is as high as it gets, so that's a USP right there for the AV. That's how I'll end this. Alright guys, I've got nothing else to say on this one. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave it a like, if not a dislike. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and as always, I hope you're all still keeping well, and I'll see you out there.